the real preface is in like your first prep where we were struggling, right?
I think we need to go back even before that.
2004.
2004 Chevrolet Tahoe. You know what real?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. This is bad, eh? When all inside jokes are just people referring to memes.
I know. What's the most cliche thing you can say about relationships? That every relationship has its ups and downs.
Oh, that's true, eh?
Right? What would you say is the most cliche thing that you could say to like generalize a romantic relationship?
You just got to learn to give and take.
and then if they've been married a long time and it's like old ball and chain thing, they're like,
oh, that makes
she takes way more than she gives. You know, in the
that's horrible. I hate that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Boo.
But
that's my input.
Give and take, yes, but ups and downs also, because we should probably talk about what happened that led to this.
Yeah.
It's a rock.
Yeah, well, it's a good segue off of what episode? Episode 6? Where we talk about where we got into like love languages and how we've learned more about each other.
Yeah.
You know? Because so basically Sam and I were, it probably actually the real preface is in like your first prep where we were struggling, right?
I think we need to go back even before that.
2004.
2004 Chevrolet Tahoe. You know what real?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. This is bad, eh? When all inside jokes are just people referring to memes. That's funny.
Oh
okay.
Man, no, even before, I think from pretty much us like 4 or 5 months in, because we kind of a little bit broke up that January. Remember, I had like a day where I was like, I don't know what I want. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Then we kind of had an issue in April when you were renovating Modus. We had a slight issue.
Okay, I don't remember that one.
We did.
Yeah.
We didn't talk for like 2 days.
Okay. Keep going. Just put these on the timeline.
Yeah. And then we were okay. For the rest of 2021, we were okay. And then I started prep, and then there was issues again with prep.
Yeah.
But that was more so, I wouldn't necessarily say that was a relationship issue per se, more so than like you just didn't understand what I was going through for this sport kind of thing, and didn't like, because now there's no issue. It's a non-issue now.
Yeah.
Because now you understand.
I know what you're saying, but I don't even know if that's entirely, I think it is a relationship issue. It's exploited by prep.
Okay. Fair. Pause. Because I'm just going to finish the timeline.
Keep going with the timeline.
Then the rest of 2022 was okay through the summer.
Yep.
Until we got towards the winter. And then we actually broke up.
Yeah.
And then got back together before Christmas. We got back together after like a week or two.
Kind of. Yeah.
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 And then engaged.
Yeah, but
in February.
Right,
this
February.
year.
And yeah, we're at the end of April right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted to talk about a little bit what led to, like, kind of what happened in November. Maybe not what led, but like what happened in November, and then
should we start like way at the beginning though? Because I have stuff to say about the beginning of our relationship that ties into November. Like
that's fine.
November was like a peak, right?
Yeah, go for it. I think we got to get to November because there's like a lot that happened there.
Yeah.
So go ahead, set it up.
So I just remember like, so you and I, it's safe to say we like think very differently. Our brains work differently. Cool. We're different people, right? Makes sense. So initially, I think that like our initial issues were like more surface level. I just remember like being upset when you would say like, we haven't been together that long. We haven't been together that long. I remember I got so upset by that because I'm like, why should that matter? Like for certain arguments or whatever. I just remember that one specific thing you said was like upsetting, right? Where am I going from here?
I have no idea. I just want to talk about November. I don't even know what you're setting up. I'm following.
Just
I'm following you.
The
I'm following
initial
you here.
that initial January breakup.
Yeah.
When we were like 2 months in or whatever, that was just me just having issues from a previous relationship, I think, and I was just like, because it was quite soon after for me. So whatever. The April issues we had, I think we just weren't understanding each other. Maybe the communication was not quite there yet. Obviously. Okay, fast forward to November.
Okay,
I'm just trying to like build it up.
I don't think none of that matters.
Okay.
To be honest, in my opinion, all that matters is November. We ended up breaking up in November, and a big problem that Sam and I realized was lack of love language. We quickly learned that, you know, I think like I had a massive change, and Sam probably changed a little bit. She can talk a bit on that, but I think, you know, you had stayed pretty steady throughout the relationship the whole time, other than that, like earlier on, right after, you know, like that initial one. But other than that, after a couple of months, you know, this was a year and a half into the relationship in November or whatever that would have been.
It was 2 years.
No, it would have been 2 years.
2
Yeah,
years.
2 years. Yeah, right. So it's like, that's a substantial amount of time. You know, for sure. So I think
to know if you want to be with someone or not.
yeah,
for
so
sure.
that was a big deal. But I think we found that we were like growing apart, and it felt like there was lots of distance emotionally and very cold, you know, and that like started to create a wedge. And then it seemed like it was going farther and farther. I was, you know, I had a short fuse and was becoming more irritable. So clearly I was unhappy with something. And then I think the same was for you. You were not getting your needs in whatever way that was. And, you know, I think you were actually communicating your needs to me and I wasn't understanding them or just not being consistent with them. And then I don't even know if I was communicating my needs at all, but that was kind of what happened.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Like I would communicate my needs, and then in your head, because you said this, in your head, you'd be like, but I don't want to do that. Like, or whatever. Or like you were trying to find a reason, like, okay, write me love notes in the morning. Remember, I was like, I need that. You're like, but it won't be genuine. And I was like, or something like that. You're like, but I don't know what to write or something.
Yeah, I struggle with that a lot.
And now you're doing it every day. I feel so good every day.
Yeah, it was a moment. It was that was an example of like a small thing that I had to learn that seems so simple, I guess. It does seem so simple. But I remember being like struggling severely before November with that, with like when you're like, hey, I'm asking for this, you're not delivering on this, and I am feeling deprived because of this. And I'm like, I don't know if I can give this to you. And that's ultimately what led to the mutual conversation of us being like, I guess we're not right for each other. And then us being like, holy shit, you know? And then being like, I guess we're breaking up. And that's what happened in November.
Yeah.
Really, then 4-ish days later, I realize a very obvious realization. Maybe not obvious, but it seems so simple in hindsight, right? Where it's just like, okay, this person has been extremely patient with me for the last 2 years, the entire time. I've been failing over and over and over again to deliver on their needs and what they're communicating pretty clearly what those are, you know? So like now I realize it's like, this is what it takes if I really love this person. And I was basically up until that point, just choosing not to do it. So it's like, dude, just write the love notes. That's all it is, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It seems so simple, but it seems so simple, but also in my head, I remember what it felt like to struggle with that. So it seems so simple, but at the same time, I remember what that felt like emotionally to be like, I felt like I was hitting a wall. I was like, why can't I just write these love notes? Like, why can't I deliver on this thing that she's asking me? Now it seems so easy. It's not a
Yeah, I
problem.
love waking up, walking to the kitchen. There it is.
Yeah,
I
it's not a
love
problem.
that.
It's not a problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the issue is. The other thing was too, you asked for gifts more. And I'm not even sure I do it that much more now.
No, because I think
But I did struggle with that too.
The note is what I need.
Right.
It's not even about like the love language is gifts, but to me that means you're thinking of me to do something. Like
Yeah.
you're thinking of me to either purchase something or write something or whatever. It's like I'm in your mind
Yeah.
before you leave
Yeah, I get
for
it.
work. That's what gets me.
Right.
Right? It's not like a necessarily tangible thing.
Yep.
So the gifts, but you brought me flowers. Yes. Was that yesterday? That's amazing. Love that.
Yep.
That's a gift.
It's a gift.
I was so happy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was interesting. I thought though, like how I realized afterwards, like, you know, getting back together, how important I think like this is an interesting thing, right? Leading up to that point, you and I, just funny, kind of laughable looking back now a little bit. We prided ourselves on like, yeah, we communicate so well. You know, we're like, look at us communicating.
Yeah.
Relationships. That's what it takes. Communicating. We are communicators. We clearly didn't figure it out.
No.
And we probably still haven't. But it's like at that point, we clearly didn't because we weren't, I don't know. We thought we were communicating because we talked, I guess, but we weren't saying what we needed.
Not even that. I think it was we weren't able, we could have a conversation and we could be open and we could communicate that way.
Yeah.
We weren't listening to each other.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
We weren't like taking what the other person was saying and actually
trying to understand.
Doing that. Like we were just doing the surface level of communicating, which is like, all right, we're having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. I was so open. I told him that XYZ upset me.
Yeah.
Cool. And then he heard me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like,
I guess I communicate now and we're communicators and we're doing the thing that people say is so important for relationships. Look at us communicating.
Yeah.
It's like, we really weren't doing, communicating is more than just words. It's like, it really is like, it's the words you choose. It's how you say it. And it's like, and it's the listening, right? That's part of communication too. It's not just delivering like what I'm doing now. You know, it's both sides. Like communication's a dance.
Yeah. That's why in November when it all like came to a head, and I don't know if you remember this too, when we'd have arguments or whatever, I'd always say like, I don't have any doubts in this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that you said you did.
Right.
And it's kind of wild because it's like, obviously that hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
But I had to take it as like, that was something you were dealing with. Like it wasn't actually, just because I know how your brain works, for you to say that, it wasn't like you were attacking me. It was just something that was going on that you were having doubts or whatever. Right. And that took me getting to know you, obviously. If that happened right near the beginning, like obviously I'd be like, no way. Like, right.
Yeah.
But, I remember that happened quite a few times where you're like, oh, I was having doubts and or something like that. Doubts. Cause I'm like, I have no doubts. Like I know we'll be together.
You were confident all the time.
100% in the relationship. 100%. Yeah. I'm like, we're going to be together. Like I have no doubts with that. You're like, oh, but then it took November. And then once, like whether it be a realization that was on your end or whatever, because once you were like, oh crap, like I want to be with you or whatever, I took like a few more weeks to just, hey, let's kind of like go on some dates and and you were not happy because you're like, no, I want to be with you. And I'm like, we're not together.
That was
right
a
now.
very tough time. That was actually very challenging for me. I found that.
But then you almost realize you're like, oh crap. Okay. I kind of get what she's feeling with the no doubts. Like that's the person I want to have for my life partner. Right. Like, so, I was patient.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was super interesting because, I don't know. I think, the prep part played a big part for sure.
Yeah.
I think the prep is a blessing because it exploits underlying problems that were already like inherent to myself, whether it's my problem or your problem or a problem in the relationship. It was mostly my problem in our case, but it's like, but regardless, your prep basically is like a screening tool for any of those problems. So then forced to come to the surface, and you have to address them. And I think that's what happened with us, you know? So it's pretty interesting because now looking back, it's like, and it always gets heightened, right? Each prep, it's like, that's when it gets more intense.
But the fact is, I wasn't prepping when we broke. I was way out of prep.
No, you're right. That's a good point.
I was completely almost 6 months out of prep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The issue there is some issues that came up are directly related to me being a bodybuilder, though.
Right.
Like, you were having surface level, you were having issues of like, how are you going to look after you're done competing? Like, are you going to get fat? Are you going to still be too muscular? Are you going to, whatever it is? And you were trying to figure out like, am I going to be attracted to her after that or whatever, which is fine. And then I think it was just like giving me the environment to be feminine.
Yeah, the coldness that we created in the relationship between each other, that disconnect emotionally, made you seem more and more masculine. Yeah. So I found that really challenging.
Yeah. So then you were nitpicking things just about my personality.
Yeah, I was nitpicking.
That weren't an issue before, but then now that it was so like exaggerated.
Yeah. Everything was on a megaphone at that point. It was like, and that's what kind of what it felt like, when really it's like, and I learned that like ultimately that problem was only a problem because I wasn't investing. I wasn't putting any input I wasn't putting at least the adequate input into you and into a relationship that would warrant you sending output back into me. Yeah. So it's like, I wasn't getting what I wanted and I was clueless. Like, why is this happening? When it was really like, it all started with me just not doing what I needed to do to get that. It's like, I just needed to give more. That's all it was. It's like, what is she asking for? Well, if I'm not giving that, it's no reason that she's not reciprocating. Yeah. You know? So that was life-changing for me, I think, because that helped me a lot. And I think, I was like still very selfish, you know? Like, I think, just the way I thought was like definitely coming from like a selfish perspective, like not understanding like I was like, okay, I know I want to get married. I know I want to start a family, but I was like, the angle that I was coming from with all of my thoughts and my questions and my doubts and everything, it was all coming from a premise of self-centeredness, I think. And that's what was happening. So now that got flipped upside down and it was forced to when we broke up. So that was a blessing. That helped a ton because then I'm able to see now a completely different perspective from a completely different premise where it's like, now I can see it a little bit more empathetically and a little bit more from like an actual loving perspective, like an actual loving perspective where it's like, what does my partner need from me and what do I need to do to fulfill that need? Yeah. You know?
And I'm just even happier that we actually took the time to work through and fight for this relationship because it's so easy to just give up. It's so easy to be, grass is greener. I'm going to go find someone else for a couple of years and then I'm going to go find someone else for a couple of years and then see ya, right?
Well, it definitely seemed like it wasn't going to work at some points, right?
At some points.
It was like, whoa, this actually might, like, are we going square peg round hole and it's just like we're forcing something that isn't meant to happen?
I still didn't have doubts.
Right.
I still didn't have doubts.
No, and I guess I'm speaking from my perspective.
I got to a point too where I was like, this guy just doesn't want to be with me. Like, he doesn't want to be with me. Why am I fighting for, like, you both have to put in some effort, right? So I felt like it was just, he doesn't want me, he's doubting, he doesn't want to be with me, right? And it's like, for me, you make so much sense as a life partner just because of,
and you for me,
our alignments, our morals, everything all the major things, we all line up. Yeah. So all the minor things should be easy to work through. Yeah. Maybe 100%. Not easy, but we should be able to give effort.
They're all solvable.
Yes.
They're all solvable. Yeah. Nothing is insurmountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause I really don't,
100%.
I really can't even think of something at the top of my head of like something we disagree on.
I don't think there's anything we disagree on that's of like deeper moral value.
Other than the last episode when I said you can't out-train a bad diet.
Yeah.
And then
So who cares? Like whatever. It's all that stuff. Yeah. All that stuff
Yeah.
we disagree on, which
But,
just makes it fun.
in terms of, like we're gonna have a great life together. Like,
Oh yeah, 100%.
fantastic life. You
Yeah,
know?
that
like
moment.
you're gonna be a fantastic life partner.
Yeah, I think so. I'm
So,
gonna rock it
Yeah.
because you're a rocket. No, yeah, you'll make it too.
Mog
You'll
the
be-
rocket.
Mog the rocket. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that was a pretty powerful moment. That was a huge like turning point for me in
Yeah.
like seeing things. Just like that perspective shift was massive for us.
And then
know?
remember, because of our situation,
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my clients about it, and she was going through something with her long-term
Okay.
fiance.
Yeah.
Like they've been together 12 years, 13 years,
Okay.
and not married yet, but they've been engaged, and for sure common law at this point, and they were having issues. And she was, and not from his side, from her side. And she was like, I don't know if I love this guy anymore. Right. And I think she was looking for like that butterfly feeling, or it seemed like maybe she wasn't getting a need met or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her about our situation, how we got back together and all that. And she actually took that to heart, had some serious conversations with him, and they're still together.
That's
She's
good.
like,
Yeah,
she's
that's
like,
cool.
I was really inspired by you guys like working through your issues. And I'm like, yeah, because if you have something good, you have to put in effort. Like, or you at least have to give the person the benefit of the doubt to be able to express something to them that's bothering you or something.
Yeah.
And have them listen and like actually communicate about it.
Give them a chance. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
But anyways, the wedding's coming up.
100%.
So we went from all that to now we're gonna have. I think I was telling you a couple days ago or something. I was like, I feel like a lot of things that were bothering us, I guess, or something, like they've been now sorted. Like they've been
around that time.
Very rarely now do we have arguments.
Let's get into one right now.
No. But we'll have something, or like I'll say something and maybe mean something else, but then we talk about it and then it's okay.
Yeah.
But like we were having way more fights like at the beginning. Or
Yeah, I think
near the
I think you're
like-
probably maybe that's an area where you've changed as well, in the sense of like you may even be more patient than you already were because you're already, but maybe you're kind of looking at kind of how I deal with things. Because I think I approach confrontation generally in a way that's not helpful. So it's easy to like, I think, perceive the way I'm coming off as like
very aggressive. When
it's
just
like, I don't mean that. It's just how I
mechanism.
am. It's like, I don't even mean that at all.
I just know you a lot better.
Yeah.
Now,
So it's like, if you can recognize that and then react in a way that's like not hostile, then it's like, I can probably keep it reasonable.
Yeah.
But like, even though the reason the way I came off is probably reasonable to assume I'm hostile. But in my head, I'm like, I'm just talking. What do you mean? You know?
Yeah.
But I think you're better at that now. And I think I'm better at like, I don't know, just not being like stubborn on everything. It's like, sometimes it's just like, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. And then I think that's part of the relationship. That's part of growing together.
Yeah. Do you remember like a big thing? Sorry, go ahead.
I do love you.
Yeah.
I also love our viewers, and we'll have to see them next time.
Oh yeah. We'll save the rest for the next episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
Part 2, maybe.
Yeah. Follow at Stay Peaked on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. If you enjoy the show, please rate, subscribe, leave a comment, send us DMs at Tim_MSHC on Instagram, at SlaysFit on Instagram as well, and let us know what you think of the show. We appreciate everybody who's listening, supporting, sending questions, whatever. We got lots more of these planned, so thank you.
Stay peaked.